Imagine this. You step into a machine right here on Earth, and just moments later, you step out onto the red dust of Mars. It's the ultimate sci-fi dream, right? Teleportation. But what if the price for that instant trip was, well, your life? What if the person who arrives isn't actually you, but just a perfect copy? This is a deep one, so let's get into it.
To really wrap our heads around this, let's start with a story. So there's this company, Teletransport Express, and they've made travel between Earth and Mars totally routine. It takes minutes. It's always been 100% safe, or so everyone thought, because now they are facing one heck of a lawsuit.
Okay, so here's the catch. This is how the teleporter works, and it's the real heart of the problem. The machine makes a perfect blueprint of you, down to every single atom. But then, and this is the important part, it destroys the original you and rebuilds an exact copy at the destination. So this customer's claim is pretty chilling. He's arguing that the person who stepped into that machine on Earth was straight up murdered. And that is the central question of all this, isn't it? Is the person who arrives on Mars the same person who left Earth? Or are they just a clone, a copy, walking around with a dead person's memories? You know, how you answer that question says a whole lot about what you believe makes you, well, you.
To really get to the bottom of this, we've actually got to go way back in time. All the way back to an ancient Greek thought experiment that, believe it or not, perfectly sets up our modern sci-fi problem. It's called the Ship of Theseus.
So the riddle goes like this. Imagine the famous ship of the hero Theseus is sitting in a harbor as a museum piece. Over the years, its wooden planks start to rot, so they get replaced one by one, until eventually not a single original plank is left. The big question is it still the Ship of Theseus? This ancient puzzle, it's the key to our whole teleporter paradox.
Now this brings us to two very different ways you could teleport. In System A, it's a gradual process, just like the Ship of Theseus. Tiny machines slowly replace every atom in your body while you travel, so you're never unconscious. I think most of us would say, yeah, that's still me. But System B, that's our lawsuit scenario. Scan, destroy, rebuild. So if you're okay with the slow replacement, where do you draw the line? At what speed does it stop being you and start being murdered?
All right, let's explore the first big argument here. The idea that, yes, you absolutely would survive the trip. Why? Because you aren't the physical stuff you're made of. You are a pattern. You're just information.
Think about it like this. What makes a book Moby Dick? It's not the specific molecules of paper or ink, right? It's the pattern of the words. It's the information. You can print 1 million copies, and every single one of them is Moby Dick. This argument says a person is the exact same way. We aren't our atoms. We are our unique pattern of information.
Or picture a sound wave. The individual air particles just kind of bump into each other. They don't actually travel all the way from my mouth to your ear. What travels is the wave, the pattern. So in this view, your consciousness is the wave, not the particles. The teleporter simply transmits that wave to a new set of particles on Mars.
Now, if this theory is right, your experience of it all would be completely seamless. You'd feel yourself stepping into the machine on Earth, and an instant later, you'd feel yourself stepping out on Mars. No interruption. The person there has all your memories, your personality, your consciousness. To them and everybody else, they are you. Case closed.
But there is a much darker, and for a lot of people, a more intuitive argument. And this is the view that the teleporter is, quite simply, a suicide machine that just happens to create a talking ghost of you on the other side.
And here it is, the core of the counter-argument. Consciousness isn't some abstract pattern you can copy and paste like a computer file. It's a physical process happening in your specific physical brain. You can copy the information, but you can't move the actual experience.
So from this point of view, the conclusion is brutally simple. The moment that machine on Earth destroys your brain, your stream of consciousness stops. Forever. You don't travel anywhere, you just die.
And that person standing on Mars, yeah, they might wake up feeling great, thinking, wow, the trip was a success. But they're not you. They are a brand new being, a perfect clone that just flickered into existence, inheriting all your memories, but not your continuous consciousness. The original you is gone. If this all still feels a little bit too philosophical, there's actually a movie that takes this exact idea to its most horrifying conclusion. Let's talk about the film The Prestige. So in the movie, a magician has a machine that creates a perfect duplicate of himself across the stage. But here's the terrifying twist. To keep the illusion going, the original version of him has to be, well, disposed of.
This means that every single night, he steps into the machine knowing there's a 50-50 chance. Will he be the man who appears on the other side of the stage to take a bow? Or will he be the man who drops through a trapdoor and drowns in a locked tank of water? Which brings us right back to our question. Is teleportation a brilliant way to travel, where you are the pattern that survives? Or is it a murder and clone machine, a real-life version of the Prestige? Now, before you make up your mind, there is one more wrinkle to all this.
Here is a wild biological fact for you. Your body is constantly replacing its own cells, its own atoms. The actual physical stuff you're made of is always changing. So in a very real sense, you are already a living, breathing Ship of Theseus. And this leads us to the final, really mind-bending question. Given that your body naturally replaces almost all of its cells over the course of about 7 years, are you really the same person you were back then? The teleporter paradox, it turns out, isn't just some problem for science fiction. It forces every one of us to ask the most fundamental question there is. What exactly makes you you?